Okay. So the last thing that we have to do is generate some normal maps and maybe some spec maps for our object as well. So I come under my menu, or my scene. We have our object here, and we open up our texture as well. And we're gonna start opening up Crazy Bump. Now, the way I would do this with Crazy Bump, and we don't have the time to do it right now, but you can consider doing this on your own, is actually we'll do a little bit of it real quick. So essentially what you do is I'm going to create a new folder real quick. I'll call that diff, and I'm going to include everything that I have so far minus my snap. Okay, so I just copied the whole texture onto the file, onto my clipboard. I just do Control-Shift copy, and that's gonna copy to my clipboard. I can go ahead and Crazy Bump and paste from clipboard. And what I mean by splitting things up is that when you are working in Crazy Bump, it's not going to give you a perfect normal map for all the different types of textures in your diffuse map. So meaning you can do a really cool normal map with all the settings and get really cool looking brick, but the wood's probably not going to look as good as the brick. So what you do is first you create a normal map and you focus on the brick. So we're going to do that. This one over here on the left looks better. So we're going to get our object, and I'm going to dial everything down to 0 and work my way up as usual. So I'm going to focus on the brick right now. Got the very large detail working. And we want these to be pretty accentuated. We might even consider shape recognition slightly. Yeah, that actually works in our favor in this case. Large detail, pull that up. Some medium detail, a little bit of fine. Oh yeah, so fine. And some extra fine. Actually, I'm going to dial that down some. And you can see we get a nice normal map for the brick. Actually, some of our medium can be turned down. Pump up our large. Our very large sum. Okay. So I have a nice normal map for our brick right now, but if we come down at the wood, that's not necessarily what we want. We look down here, we can actually change this from a ball, oh here we go, from the ball to a box. It's not actually doing the same thing to the concrete that we want. And the ornate wood looks okay, but not great. And some of this is okay, but what we really like right now and what we focused on was the brick. So I'm going to save this normal map to my clipboard. And it's taking a while because this is a 4K texture, of course. And now I'm going to create a new group. I'm going to call it norm. It looks like it didn't actually copy the file to my clipboard. We'll try this one more time. Hopefully it worked that time. Yes. So now we have the normal map for our brick, and what you want to do is do one material at a time. So we did our brick. That's looking fine. We know it does look fine because we looked at it in Crazy Bump. And then the next thing we'd want to do is come back into Crazy Bump, play around with our lights so we can see more. And the next thing I want to do is adjust it so that this ornate trim looks better. So I'm going to take everything down. I'm going to take everything down to 0 once more. Yeah, shape recognition doesn't do much for us, so we're going to leave that off. I'm going to start with the large detail. I want to see what happens if I reverse this. No, I definitely want it in the normal intensity. Okay, and I think that looks good right now how it is. So what I do now is save normals to clipboard. And now I'm going to Control V, and you can see the difference between the two. So basically all I'm going to do is make sure I get exactly what I want. I got this ornate done the way I want it. I'm going to select what I want from it. And now I can do an inverse select by doing Control Shift I. That'll inverse my selected. I can delete it. And now what that leaves me with is the new normal map for the ornate and the old one for the brick. So I'm going to turn off my snap real quick. Save this as targa wall underscore nor 32-bit once more. I'm sorry, 24-bit once more. And this time come into our material, open up our blend, come under bump mapping. We're going to hit the checker, file, and we're going to change this use as bump to use as tangent space normals. Click on the bump value. Going to grab our files. Place it in. And there we go. So, when you're doing this on your own, you definitely take the time to separate your normals. As long as the normals don't look as good as doing them all in one piece in Crazy Bump, take the time to do them one at a time and get them really nailed down. The more time you take on stuff like that, the more realistic it's going to look, and eventually it adds up and it becomes pretty impressive. So you can see just now as I turned off the specular color, I turned it to black, so it basically eliminates it. But normal maps don't really work unless you have specular on top of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually turning the specular off for now, and I'm going to create a new light. Like I was saying in class, I use point lights all the time to check my normal maps. So I got the color, it's white, that's fine for now. I'm going to turn on the lights by using this little icon right here. And if I move my object, or my light, back and forth, I can see how effective the normal maps are. And I think this works pretty well for us right now. So, once again, all you'd have to do to create an entire building is duplicate these faces, or these objects a couple times, duplicate them side to side, and what you could do is add more objects to break up the pattern. So you could add vines, which break up the repeating asset later on in a game engine. But right now what you have is a modular asset which has mirrored faces and textures. So in your project you could do something similar to this. You could do something smaller. You could focus on something like literally just this windowsill and just make a really awesome version of it. But try and surprise it, try and do something that's really out of the world. Alright guys, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And if you want to see anything else in particular, any advanced techniques, just let me know and I can do a supplementary tutorial video. Alright, that's going to be it for now. Thanks guys.